Okay, guys.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. So doctor, this actually, this is the first baby born in the program in the islands, correct?
That's correct, and we're just delighted and thrilled to have this little baby part of the study.
Now this study, as was mentioned earlier, it's very long term. I mean, the child is less than 24 hours old, and now for the next, how long are you going to be following?
21 years. Our hope is, family willing, that they'll stay engaged in the study for the full duration, which is 21 years. So we'll be looking at the environmental exposures and life experiences that this child has, and how that affects her health and development over those 21 years.
Is there any intervention, or is this more observational?
There's no intervention. It is observational, so families get to carry on the way they normally would, raise their children the way they usually would, with the kinds of foods they would eat, and putting them in the schools and in the settings that they would normally place them. And we just gather information on, air, water, soil samples from the different environments the child is in, as well as the social dynamics, parent-child interaction, interpersonal interaction that child might experience in the schools or in child care settings with key caregivers, and look again at health and developmental outcomes over the long term.
How many local children do you eventually hope to have in the study?
We plan to recruit 1,000 children into the study over about a 5-year period.
How would you go about doing this? Every 2 years? Every year?
Actually, it's a continuous process over the next 5 years. So right now we're visiting neighborhoods. There have been 12 randomly selected neighborhoods on Oahu that are where families living in those neighborhoods are eligible to participate in the study, and we will identify women who are planning to get pregnant, who are pregnant at the time that we visit the households, and we'll continue to talk with them at intervals over the next 5 years to determine if they have become pregnant, and recruit them into the study as they do so.
Well, I mean, how often would you check on the child?
Well, it's at intervals of about 3 months at this point, and checking on the women on whether or not they've conceived, and then recruiting them into the study. With the children, it's at different intervals. While the children are very young, the interval is much shorter. The intervals become longer as the child ages up. So right now it's every, I would say, 3 to 6 months, and then the visits become less frequent and stretch out to annually, and then later at about 3-year intervals.
Is it broken up also by class, race?
No, what we want is representation from the full spectrum of members of our society. So you'll have members eligible for this, in the study, who represent our community. So that's going to be everyone from all education levels, from all ethnicities, from all socioeconomic backgrounds. They will be in the study, but that's not the point of the study. What we want is a study that represents all of Hawaii's people. So we won't be trying to recruit just a subset of the population. It'll be the full array of Hawaii citizens.
And then finally, what is like the point? What do you want? What does the study hope to achieve with? Well,
it is hope to achieve, because we can never anticipate in advance what the findings will be, right? But we know from prior research that there are exposures that children have in their early childhood that affect their later health outcomes. And we want to study those as carefully as we can to determine if there are links between those exposures. And again, those might be via the foods they eat, or the air they breathe, or the water they drink, and later health outcomes. So we want, we will be collecting that data, following the children, and when we find connections, sharing those connections so that we can make policy and health decisions for our families based on that information.